time someone generally tells someone about abuse here, and it is somebody saying, like, they're in the home with the abuser or something like that, or it's their mom's boyfriend and he's constantly coming over. Like, all of our people know, and if they don't know, now you know again, that they're supposed to come and talk to me about it.
And then you help to...
We follow up with talking to DCFS.
Okay.
We'll call the police and make a police report.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've had to do it a couple times over the years where the abuser's still in the house. And it is a difficult call. It's a gut-wrenching call, especially the last time we had to just do it. You know, the whole time the person was like, you know, my mom's gonna kill me, she's gonna be so angry at me, she didn't understand. And the reality was, once her mom got there, she wasn't anything like that. It was just that perception. But you feel like like you're hurting them more by calling. But I think it's just they're afraid of the unknown. And I think that's just being that kind of like, I guess, like a rock for them to kind of lean on while it's going through it and stuff. And it is a difficult call, and that's why no one in this room should ever deal with it on their own. And I think another thing too is like, I say to them all the time, and I'll say it again, it's to never, when they come and say, I'm going to tell you something, but I need you to promise not to tell anyone. Like, you can never say, oh, I promise. Because, like, if they tell you something bad, and it's happened before, you have to take action. And so I always tell people when they come and they say, yeah, you have to promise not to tell anyone. I can't make that promise, but I will do my best, whatever you tell me, that if it's not, you know, certain situations, and I don't really want to tell them the situation either, because then they'll be like, well, we're not going to tell you. But, you know, say in certain situations, you know, I have to take action because I love you and I care about you, but I can't make a promise like that. But, you know.
It's definitely more important to be upfront about that, you know, to tell them right away, I can't promise that. And I'll get into that a little bit more, the kind of the confidentiality issues later, but especially when it comes to this, you know. And typically, if someone's coming to you and they're telling you, they want someone to know. They want something to happen. They want something to change. Even though they're going to say, I don't want you to tell anyone, I'm going to get in trouble. There's a reason that they're coming to you and they want you to know, and it means they want help in some way. And so just keep telling yourself that, even if they're really upset about it. You got to do what you got to do, and I'm glad you guys obviously have some things in place, and you're not, like Nick said, you're not on your own. You know, this is something that you've got support, you've got help figuring out, you know, how this is the procedure that's going to take place and how it's all going to happen. So that's important. You know, some of the effects that you're going to see with people who have gone through abuse is, obviously we've talked about self-esteem issues are going to be huge, loss of identity, depression, anxiety, loss of trust. A lot of times acting out behaviors are going to be present, you know, maybe self-injury, self-destructive behaviors, drugs, alcohol, dangerous activities, maybe promiscuous sex, other acting out things, violence with other people. When someone experiences something like that, it really shakes the core of who they are. You know, whether it's a physical act, emotional or sexual, it influences them in different ways, but it really affects who they see, how they see themselves, how they see other people in relationships, because a lot of times people are abused by people that are supposed to love them, are supposed to take care of them, and so all of a sudden, the people that, you know, they thought were going to protect them no matter what are now hurting them. And so they're going to, of course, be very leery of anyone else who tries to, you know, support them, you know, and be there for them, because in the past, if someone acted like that, then they hurt me. And so it makes it difficult sometimes to, you know, develop trust. And so you just got to keep being consistent and being there for them and showing them that, you know, relationships can be different. You know, as far as seeking treatment, people who have been abused, obviously working through some of these issues in counseling is very helpful, especially when it comes to sexual abuse. A lot of people are not ready to deal with those issues until they're in their even midlife. You know, it's just almost too difficult. The way that they're dealing with them is acting out. And it's really hard to deal with the emotional issues and all of that. But a lot of times I think what can be helpful is even if people are willing to seek counseling and they're not willing to address maybe abuse, they are willing to address maybe depression, acting out behaviors, those things that are kind of the effects of the abuse. And so that's at least a starting point for people. You know, probably they're not going to go in and just want to talk about their abuse and deal with it. Like I said, I have clients that came to me in 40s, 50s, 60s, told me about abuse. They never told anyone else. That's how long they held on to it. They just were never ready to talk about it. And then all of a sudden, they are 55 and they're ready to deal with their abuse. And so know that, you can offer encouragement, you can offer support, you can encourage them to seek counseling. Maybe not to address the abuse that they've experienced, but maybe to address other things that are going on in their lives. And that can at least be a way to help them through that phase of it. And then later on in life, they might get to the point where, especially if they had a positive experience in counseling, later on they may go back and deal with those things more in depth. So it might be frustrating because you just feel like, go get therapy, you'll get better. But it's, everybody's different in the way that they deal with it. So they maybe have to deal with some of the effects of it first and then deal with what they went through later on in their life. So I would say with abuse, God's healing is really the best. I mean, other than that, it's really hard for people to deal with it. I mean, as far as, you're not gonna be doing maybe some of the clinical things that people would do in therapy, but I think God's healing is a lot probably more effective than some of the things we even do in therapy. So know that you have that to go from, and just work on that aspect. How can God help them through healing these parts of their life that have been broken, and trying to deal with the guilt that they probably feel, and anger, and not trusting other people, and try to just support them as best you can. Anything else about that topic?
How do you deal with that guilt? Like, I know I've done a lot of research about that because it's something we deal with a lot, and I always thought, like, and that doesn't make any sense. Like, why do they think that it's their fault? But even just working with a girl, it happened to her when she's like 6.
Mm-hmm.
Still, at 16, she feels like she did something to incite that. Like, how do you even deal with that?
It's really difficult, I think, because I think where that comes from is they feel like they must have done something wrong because it was just so not natural. It was so opposite to what they, I think, we think that the people in our life are supposed to keep us safe and protect us, and then when it doesn't happen, it's like, well, then I must have done something wrong because this is the way it's supposed to be. And so, it's kind of almost a repetition thing, maybe, just continuing to help them through it, and hopefully someday it will click with them that it's not their fault, but I think, there's lots of things that happen in our lives that are bad things that we logically know that's not my fault, but we still feel like somehow maybe we did something wrong to make that happen. Yeah. And so, I think that's just even more pronounced when it's abuse for some reason. And so, I think you just got to keep working on with it.